Today we're going to be looking at the Metro, an ultra-compact travel stroller from Ergobaby. Ergobaby, as a company, is rather new to the stroller market, having established itself with other sorts of baby care products, most successfully with its line of baby carriers. This sort of thing is always exciting to me, as one-of-a-kind rogue forages into the stroller market from companies that generally produce other things has often led to a lot of invention and originality in the past. The other exciting thing about the Metro is its price point, clocking in at less than 2/3 the price of the Baby Zen Yo-Yo Plus. Let's start off with a few stats. The Ergobaby Metro folds down to 52 by 44 by 23 centimeters, which is fully within standard cabin luggage guidelines, and it weighs 6.3 kilos. It can take 18 kilos in the seat, which is much more than you'll need given its size, and a healthy 4.5 kilos in the shopping basket. Okay, let's have a look at comfort, both for you and your child. As far as the seat is concerned, it's decently sized, at least in line with the rest of the market, with a somewhat larger than average canopy, which provides good coverage and is mounted pleasantly high above the seat to accommodate longer children. The seat has a full recline and also incorporates the luxury of an adjustable leg rest, an addition that I believe will become standard across the market within a year or two. With regards to the quality of the fabrics, I am generally satisfied with the seat unit, which is padded well enough, but I do personally wish that the canopy had been made out of the same material, as I've noticed in the past that Lycra type materials tend to wear down a little bit faster. Additionally, when fully reclined, the rear wall is made of mesh for ventilation, which is okay for warmer climates, but it would have been nice if this could have been closed off for colder parts of the world. Overall, these are small things to pick on though. As far as your own comfort is concerned, the Metro has a one-step, one-handed fold and unfold, so super easy. When folded, it has a handle for carrying. I would have liked a shoulder strap, of course, especially since it has such a nice small folded size, but maybe they'll put one on in the future. You could, of course, always mount one yourself. The shopping basket has a decent weight capacity, though I do find it a little difficult to access, as the back is somewhat closed off, and the adjustable leg rest sort of gets in the way in the front. But I suppose this is just a trade-off for having the adjustable leg rest in the first place. When it comes to driving, the Metro functions just fine. The handle is a bit lower than on the Baby Zen Yo-Yo, but is roughly in line with most of the rest of the ultra-compact stroller market. It has well-designed 6-inch front wheels and large 8-inch rear wheels, which is nice for tilting the stroller backwards to get up curbs and stuff. When it comes to ease of maintenance and repair, the Metro has easily removable fabrics, in case your little one is a spiller, removable wheels, a simple brake system, and disassemblable folding mechanism, all of which aid in your ability to actually fix problems and/or replace parts, should you need. The fold of the Metro does incorporate a couple points with tightly fitted plastic discs that can cause some creaking noises, so getting a can of silicone is probably a good idea. Okay, let's move on to mechanics and check out the Metro top to bottom. Okay, we'll start with the folding setup on the Metro itself, which is actually rather complex mechanically, but it's built in a relatively sturdy fashion. The way the folding actually works is you have a button and a safety slider up at the top, and you start, when you depress it, it starts by folding the handle assembly forward. The middle section remains locked. Once you hit a certain point, it activates a second release trigger inside here, which releases the central joint. So, like this, and a very easy flip and open fold, of course. Generally, I would find a sort of like double activation system like this to be a little bit problematic in the long run because it is relatively complex, but the Metro overall is designed with pretty sturdy mechanisms internally and so on. It's a lot more like the baby jogger mechanism for folding than it is like the Boogaboo when we're thinking about this sort of 3-disc sort of a system. So Metro is relatively new, so it's still a question as to whether there are going to be problems in the long run, but there is pretty sturdy parts inside, despite the fact that it's a relatively complicated fold. One nice thing about it, even though it's so complicated, is that most of the areas where the folding mechanisms occur, at the handle here and in the center, are not actually riveted together, they are screwed together. And the number one thing that I would see happening as a problem with this sort of a system would be alignment issues before any sort of breakage. And you can technically then open it all up and realign the mechanism to get it functioning properly if you were to have problems. Again, the Metro is so new that we haven't seen any sort of issues with this system yet, but anything this complex could potentially have in the future, even when it's constructed in a very sturdy fashion. Okay, let's have a little bit of a closer look at the rear end of this stroller. So one thing that I of course like is the larger 8-inch back wheels. I would really like to see some ultra compacts come out with larger front wheels, as front wheels are a little bit more important in terms of size than back wheels. But it is easier, of course, to make larger rear wheels on a stroller. And it's quite nice to have these 8-inch wheels, seeing more and more models with that. So I hope that trend continues in the future. There's no actual suspension in the back. Most ultra compact strollers do not have suspension. Realize you're generally just going to be using this in airports and malls and smoother terrain. There are a couple of models that do have a little bit of rear suspension. This is not one of them, but neither does the Baby Zen Yo-Yo Plus or the majority of the market, so that is perfectly fine. One thing that I do really like about the rear frame of this, in comparison with a lot of other ultra compacts, is they've gone for a very simple brake system. So it's this pedal in the middle, pushes down, you can see the bar as it goes down, runs right through the rear housing, and then locks into the teeth on the back of the rear wheels. It's the same sort of a system that the Stokke Scoot has, and it's kind of an older sort of a system. What is nice about this is that when you start to have problems eventually, if you have problems, it's very easy to lubricate in all of the points. You can tighten up the pedal as it like encapsulates this bar in the center, and you can actually work on this bar itself here, the actual brake bar, bend it back into alignment if you have any sort of those issues with it. Those are the main issues that do sometimes occur with this sort of a brake system. All are very easy to fix. It doesn't mean you will get these sort of issues. The teeth on the inside of the wheel are a little bit on the thin side. It's a little bit sort of like old SEMO strollers. So if one is abusive towards a stroller and tries to push it with the brakes on or hit the brakes while you're rolling too fast, you could eventually have some problems with the teeth breaking, but it won't happen if you don't abuse your stroller. Overall then, the rear end of this is really well engineered in a very simple sort of a manner, and it does have that simple brake system and large back wheels. So, good job. Okay, let's have a little bit of a closer look then at the front frame of this stroller. So just because of the coloring of the wheels, they may look a bit small, but they actually are 6-inch wheels, so it's in line with the Baby Zen Yo-Yo and a lot of other ultra compact travel strollers. It does have a sort of standard suspension within the front fork. It's just located a little bit lower than it's often located. The front wheels are removable, but they have a sort of a setup that prevents wobble issues. So what can sometimes happen with all strollers that have swivel wheels is that the way the axle's set up, usually protruding from the fork itself into the top, is set up such that there's no real protection for it not to kind of move itself back and forth as you're using the stroller, and thus widen out the channel for the axle inside. And what happens after a number of years is that when you go at speed, the wheels begin to wobble. Now the reason why this is set up with preventing this in mind is that first off, the axle runs down through the center and locks in place. It's a metal lock inside there. And there's a second point of connection, which is that there's this whole thing is like a larger disc that's set in a bit from the fork and plugs into the circumference of the well inside here. So thus you're being held, the front fork is being held both by the axle as well as how this plug fits in, giving it 2 points and thus preventing the axle from being able to do any sort of damage, in this case within the fork, although generally it occurs within the housing itself. In addition, because all 4 wheels are removable, if you do have any trouble with the wheels, it's quite easy to then fix them by replacing any sort of parts. This stroller in general is one of those strollers that's designed to kind of hold over time because things are openable to some extent, fixable, and parts are to some extent replaceable. Again, back to the front frame though, there's really no problems with it. It has decent sized wheels, it has wobble protection, and it has that small amount of suspension that you normally see on the front frame. So is the Metro worth buying? Yes, I would actually say it is. In fact, I would even say that it's underpriced, which is a common practice to try and get more volume out in the hands of consumers, where the Metro's low budget offer of a high quality stroller can help spread the word and pave the way for the development of a strong brand. My guess is that the price will go up with the next iteration, as happened with the Baby Jogger City Tour. If you're looking for an ultra-compact travel stroller, built simple and sturdy, with a few extra bells and whistles like the adjustable leg rest and the one-hand fold, then the Ergobaby Metro is definitely a good pick, especially at this price. In any case, we hope you found this video interesting, and if you did, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. Thank you.